Welcome back to another episode of How to Become an Obstacle Buster. I'm your host, Warren Wandling, the show that's dedicated to bringing leaders and entrepreneurs strategies, tips, and resources to overcome their obstacles, to build resilience and achieve success. If this is your first time listening or you've been part of our community for a while, thank you for tuning in today. Before I introduce you to our guest for today, I want to make sure that you're aware of two new resources to help you be resilient. The first resource is our private Facebook community called Leadership with Purpose. You can either find it by going to Facebook groups and searching for Leadership with Purpose, or I'll make sure that that link is in the show notes as well. In that community, I share strategies and tips. I'm helping you to be able to develop your resilience as a leader and entrepreneur. It's also a great place to be able to connect with other like-minded leaders. I'm really excited about the second resource because our team put together this great resource called Mindset Toolkit. It's called How to Build a Resilient Mindset, Lead with Confidence, and Leverage Adversity. You'll want to make sure that you grab that resource, so you simply can go to warrenwandling.com/mindset toolkit. So that's WARRENWANDLING.com/MINDSETTOOLKIT. And I'll also make sure that that link is in the show notes as well. Well, as promised, I have a great guest with me today, Michelle Lynne. She's the owner of ML Interior Group, a successful design firm based in Dallas, Texas. She started her firm in 2008 while she was still working in corporate America. It was also the year that she got married and purchased her home, and the year the market crashed. More than a decade year later, she's still happily married, and her interior design business is thriving. She also is the owner and founder of Design for Creative Mind, where she teaches interior designers and decorators the proven practice, effective processes, profitable systems to run their business with purpose and sufficiency, leaving them more time to design. Michelle adopted a newborn in 2018, loves Jesus, but swears a little, and believes gratitude is the key ingredient to happiness. Welcome to the show, Michelle.
Thank you so much, Warren. I am honored to be here.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. As you might know, on How to Become an Obstacle Buster podcast, we provide strategies, tips, and resources for leaders and entrepreneurs to overcome their obstacles to achieve success. So to start that conversation today, as the owner of ML Interiors Group and owner and founder of Design for the Creative Mind, tell us about your business.
Well, those that you just mentioned, there's two separate businesses. ML Interiors Group is an interior design firm based out of Dallas, Texas. And what I found by starting and growing that company is that the creative minds of designers do not necessarily understand the business of running a business. So I created the platform called Design for the Creative Mind, which is all about the business of running an interior design business. So I've got two things that I'm juggling in that respect, but I love both of them.
Yeah, that's really fascinating that you're able to tap into that market and help them to be able to work on their business instead of in their business.
Well, that, and when you have the business set up well, you have more time to design. So it's just a very synergistic format that I believe makes designers more money and more satisfaction overall.
Right. I'm sure some of your clients, when they first got into the business, they loved interior design. And then they'd realize that there's actually a business attached to it. And there's the function to be able to make it run smoothly and develop systems.
Yeah, I think it took me by surprise at first as well. There's
Exactly.
a lot of moving parts, so I had to scramble and get it pulled together.
Sure. So what is the greatest obstacle your clients encounter?
So on the interior design side, the biggest obstacle for our clients is really just whether it's being able to pull a room together so that it has all of the functionality as well as the aesthetics that nurture their wellness in their home, but it's also understanding exactly what we as interior designers do, because it's not necessarily just picking out paint colors or fluffing pillows. So it's a big obstacle to get the education of what an interior designer provides to our clients. And once they understand that, they inherently know they need help. But understanding how we go about doing it is a pretty big obstacle. And then, of course, it comes down to the fact that it's a luxury service, and sometimes understanding the value on the front end requires quite a bit of trust, to know that the deliverables are really going to be exceeding what they paid, like the value of it.
Sure. So with the clients that you're trying to bridge that gap to understand the value,
Mm-hmm.
there's there a pattern that you've seen of kind of that discover of the aha moment of saying, oh yeah, that makes sense in reference to the value that you bring to a client?
Yeah, so that's part of the processes that I have, that I teach now. Is we've created the system that starts simply with the discovery call and walks the client all the way through, the signing of the contract, that provides education of, look, this is how we run our projects. We have, we call it the ML experience, but internally we also call it the 16 steps of sanity. And it is what every single project goes through. So when we walk the clients through, here's the steps from A to Z, and here's how we're going to get your project completed, and here's an understanding of the processes, the procedures, the checklist, the systems, the software, everything that we have in our program or in our business. Then they also start to understand that this is run like a business. It's not just a hobby. And it's also understanding that as designers, we listen to our clients. We're not going to force them to take something that they quote unquote need to finish the design if it doesn't suit their lifestyle. So I think there's also the perception of the horror stories where somebody's quote, kind of forced to buy something that they don't want, and having that trust factor, because it is such a personal service, is important. And that comes with that onboarding of the client, the education, the hand-holding, the walking through, and then we'll show them samples of other projects that we've delivered and how we deliver it, because it's not just, rainbows and fairy dust and poof, your house is pretty. They understand the process that we go through. And that, I think, really eases their concern.
Sure, that makes sense in reference to having that process to bridge the gap and build the trust, building the know, like, and trust factor.
Yeah, that's a huge obstacle buster, is just walking them through and being transparent. And that word is so overused, but just showing them, look, this is how we price our things. These are the fees that you can expect to incur. This is how your fee structure will work, because usually it comes down to money. They've called us because they've seen the product that we've delivered and they like the designs. They probably know a little bit more about our personality just from social media and so forth. But once once we earn that trust, it's just such a magical transition.
So we are living certainly in a lot of uncertain times currently, Michelle.
Yeah.
What are you doing to pivot in your business during COVID-19?
So I'm grateful. I feel like we were very well set up for options. And within my interior design business, we have not only the full service interior design, which is, the luxury, the most luxury platinum side, but we've offered over the last few years, probably 5, a modified level of concierge service, and then a virtual design service. So we already have these services spelled out. We already have the processes created. I think what we're doing now is we're promoting them a little bit more. Like, whether you don't want somebody in your house because we're all sheltering in place, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe there's going to be some people who aren't going to be comfortable with that for another 3 to 6 months. So we have the virtual option for you. And then the modified is simply if you don't mind somebody being in your house, but you don't want all of the fees associated with the concierge level service, then that's for them as well. So that's been something that we are working on and promoting more within our general messaging. And also with my Design for the Creative Mind platform, that's an online course. It's a virtual way to teach interior designers how to set up their business and be able to run it very smoothly. So when the time does come, their processes are in place and the pricing structure is fully explained, because in interior design, there's no standardized pricing practice. So there's some individuals who are charging $30 an hour, and then there's some individuals who are charging $30,000 for a design fee. It's just all across the board. So by educating more interior designers, I'm also hoping to um, impact and lift that industry little one by one.
Yeah, that's really interesting, Michelle, that you've had different levels within your business. And that's a great secret for our listeners as well. If they have a different platform, or if they're used to selling just maybe one-on-one, to increase it to one-to-many, but have different levels of service, so be able to serve the same target audience, but have different products that they'd be able to tap into.
Yeah, and we liken it to, okay, so do you want to drive a Maserati, a Mercedes, or a Mazda? Not that
Mm-hmm.
any of these vehicles are, that they're different, but you could still get a white vehicle with four wheels that'll drive you from Los Angeles to New York. It's just a matter of, how do you want to get there? Do you want to get there like in a Maserati, in a Mercedes, or in a Mazda? There's three different price points. There's three different deliverables, and you have the options. It's been fantastic over the last few years.
So what was a key strategy that contributed to your success building your businesses?
I would say a key strategy is tenacity. And I would love to say that it was going out and getting help. That would probably be one of the things I didn't do well. So if I could say a strategy that would contribute to success in building your business is keep asking for help. Keep asking, keep asking, keep asking. I bootstrapped my way up and spent way too many nights sleepless and sometimes losing money and so forth. But I believe that if you believe in yourself, and if you know that you have the ability to do it, not giving up and having the tenacity, the determination, that really does move you forward. But it's also being available to fail and fall forward and learn from it. So that's a key strategy, but it's also just building the jet while you fly it. So not having everything in place and perfect is a key strategy in building any business, because once you just start and you're building the jet while you fly it, you can go back and edit anything. So don't just start, and you will figure it out along the way.
Yeah, I love the analogy that you use of building the jet along the way.
Yeah.
That's awesome. There's certainly, from entrepreneurs, we sometimes resist asking for help. That's a very common thing as entrepreneurs. And the second, we can get bogged down on process, thinking we have to have it all planned out before we start.
Yeah, and I tell that to my students, just build the jet while you fly it. Look, I've got the instruction manual for you, but you're going to have to be the one who takes off.
Exactly. They have to be willing to be able to start taking action. And the only
Mhm.
way to do that, I think, for entrepreneurs and for our listeners, if you feel like you're stuck in that obstacle of not getting started, just decide to do something one step forward to moving towards your goal.
Yes, and most of my students are women, so they will
Hmm.
understand that it's just like going to the gym. It's just like get your shoes on, get dressed. That sometimes is the hardest part, and then go out and go for that run, or go to the gym, or go to your class, or whatever the case may be. So it's just that very first step is always the hardest.
Yeah, I love that. So, in your opinion, why is money not a bad word and wanting more income is not greed?
I am a firm believer that we all have our own money stories and our own relationships with money. And most of them are not very positive. But if you can reframe it and understand that more income leads to more impact, then you're not greedy. How can you turn around and help people? Because if you are, I've seen this. If you are a nasty person, you're going to be a nasty person with more money. If
Hmm.
you are
Right.
a generous and loving person, you are going to be generous and loving with more money. So, with that, the more income you have, it's not greedy because you can turn around and you can impact so many more people just through whatever drives you, whatever passion you have, whatever charitable endeavors you want to support. So, more income is not greedy.
Yeah, I love that. And I love the idea that you mentioned about that we all have money stories.
Yeah.
When you're working with your client, you use a strategy to help identify what those money stories are.
So with our interior design clients, we can generally determine that with, as we're going through the research phase with them and we're getting to know them and understand them. And it could be that they just value things differently. Like where do you value? I have this one client years ago, and Warren, I'm not kidding you. He had like three luxury cars, whether one was, a vintage car, one was literally a Ferrari, just brand new off and like not just the basic Ferrari, like beautiful Ferrari,
Uh huh.
and a motorcycle. He also had a giant boat out on the lake here in Dallas, and his house was a mansion. And his value on a couch, he didn't want to spend more than, just a very small amount. I'm not going to mention like how much, but
Sure.
it was a very small retail amount. And for his home and for the amount of time he spends on the couch, it was just we had to educate him and share with him, look, we understand that you can afford it. We're not trying to spend your money unnecessarily, but let's take a look at your lifestyle, and we understand that you spend a lot of time on your couch, so we need to get you a couch that will accommodate you. So there's those types of money stories of where you place your value. And then with my students, teaching them that you have to separate yourself from your service. Your value is in what you deliver to the client. Your value as a person, exceeds anything that you could ever charge, because you're a child of God. You're here in this universe for a reason. But don't pull your identity into your fees, because those two start getting mixed up, and it's very difficult to separate. But you also have to believe that you deserve it. I think that if you don't believe that you deserve a certain amount of money for the service that you provide, you will never have the courage to ask for it. So really believing in the service that you provide is the first step.
So, what is the importance of building boundaries into your business?
Uh, well, if you want to stay married, that's important.
Yeah. Exactly.
I don't need to be getting phone calls at 7 o'clock at night when I'm trying to sit down with my husband and my daughter. But I think that it's, if you can impart to your clients that trust factor of I have everything under control, you don't need to be asking me 77 questions because I will be answering them for you even before you ask them. Or if you wait until Friday, we do a Friday follow-up every week with with our current projects, whether it's moving forward quickly or slowly, you will always get an update. But having those boundaries where somebody's not texting you, and maybe they're on the East Coast time and maybe you're on West Coast time. And so you're getting a text at 4 a.m. because they're thinking of something at, what would that be, like 4, 5, 6, 7.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just believe that it's important for that. Plus, work is not life. Sometimes it can overcome us and just become our identity. And I don't believe that our identity needs to be wrapped up in our business. It's a part of it, but it's also healthy boundaries that you can impart with your clients will tailor over to your own health, which you have to maintain in order to run a business, to the health of your relationships, that people that support you, because sometimes you do have to put more hours in, and they will understand that this is an exception to the rule. And just for your own white space time where you're not doing something.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Certainly, since now most of us currently during our current crisis or uncertainty that we're dealing with COVID-19, that if you're working at home, it's hard to sometimes have those boundaries to stop work and start that to engage with the family and do the exercise, as you mentioned as well, having other things than just work. So that's really important in reference to having boundaries.
Yeah, I think if you're a good business person, you're well-rounded in various aspects of your life.
Yeah, so important. So I'm really curious, being a member of the Forbes Dallas Business Council, what's one insight that you've learned holding that position?
It is that we all struggle. It does, this is something that I've known, but we all have our own insecurities. Whether you are, and sorry, it sounds like my neighbor's getting their and they usually actually do it on Tuesdays. We're recording this on a different day. But
Yeah,
going
that's
back to your
awesome.
question, is that one of the most important things that I've learned by being on this Forbes Business Council is that in every single industry, no matter how long somebody has been in that field or in that business, that we all have moments of insecurity, that we all have moments of that imposter syndrome, and that just kind of comes with the territory of being a leader. And by being able to discuss that and also break down the walls, it that has just been an insight that has given me an availability to be okay with those feelings when they sneak in.
Yeah, I love that insight because some, maybe if they're just in the process of starting and growing their business and they
Mm-hmm.
look at others that have maybe been in their having their own business for a number of years and it appears on the outside that they're successful, but exactly what they don't realize is they also have that internal struggle, or they might have limiting beliefs or self-talk
Yeah.
that they're dealing with as well.
And I would have thought that one of the biggest insights I would have had is like processes and procedures. You run your business, la 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 la, and systems and whatnot. But it really boils down to the humanness of business.
Exactly. So I believe that success leaves clues, and one of those clues are leaders, what they read. So, what are some authors that have influenced you in your business?
So that's a loaded question because I have a bookshelf that is about a mile tall and an Audible account that's a mile wide. I would truly say that one of the things that really influenced me early was Stephen Covey's, I believe it's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah, great book.
And looking back at that, there are still some stories that stand out. And I went back and read it with my team last year, 2 years ago. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize that I picked that nugget up when I read it decades ago. That has
Hmm.
just been a fantastic platform. Recently, I have been reading Dr. Joe Dispenza, and he's very woo woo, but he's very scientifically based. So I love just understanding a lot of it has to do with quantum physics and how it ties in with our business. And I love that every thought that we have has energy tied to it. So it goes back to, for every action there's a reaction, and that our thoughts are, well, one, this that we are not our thoughts. So you can control your own thoughts, but what you put out into the universe basically is what you get back. So by
Hmm.
controlling your thoughts and having thoughts of abundance and thoughts of um, confidence and of success and whatever that looks like, you do get it back. And so that has been very interesting recently. And man, Warren, it is not an easy read with the quantum physics that goes behind it. I'm like, can I just get
Hmm.
a summary, please? But it's really well, it's really time. It is really well worth the time spent.
Yeah, quantum physics is definitely an interesting topic to dive into. Did you happen to have that title of his book
It's
close at
called
hand, or?
Becoming Supernatural.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. I'll have to
Yeah,
add that to my list.
I definitely recommend it, and it's easiest read in short spurts because it's one that's just really thought provoking.
Oh,
And of course,
excellent.
there's the E Myth Revisited and Start with Why, and one of them that I do love is also Donald Miller's Story Brand. That's a really good book talking about telling your story and how you weave that into your business and into your marketing and so forth.
Wow, that sounds like an excellent book as well. Because I
Yes.
certainly, as entrepreneurs, if we get into too much process, then we forget about telling the story because the stories really connect with our
Yeah,
ideal client.
and that's how we describe it to our clients, is that, you know what, we're the storytellers and we're the guide. This is not about us. You are the hero of this business transaction. This entire transaction is all about you. We are the ones guiding you through the process, and telling your story so that you avoid the pitfalls and you avoid the, ordering the wrong couch. It's not going to, be the worst thing that's ever happened in your life. But if it doesn't fit in your house, it's a problem because you just paid for it. And then you have to pay for restocking and the inconvenience and so forth. So I learned quite a bit from that book.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you for sharing those nuggets in around those authors that have influenced you.
Yeah.
So, what does the future hold for you? Are you working on any special projects?
So I am continuing to build out my Designed for the Creative Mind platform. And like I had in my interior design business where we have multiple service offerings, I am, that what I've discovered is that not everybody is into a virtual course. Some of them need their handheld a little bit more. So I'm offering more of a one to many group coaching. I have brought back my one-to-one coaching. And just this week, I'm noodling around with some paid live virtual events that's an actual ongoing course where we would meet, say, once a week, spend an
Hmm.
hour or two together going through prepared curriculum and and offering that. So my mind is always going 90 miles an hour. Right now, it's just needs to slow down and settle down on one thing.
Well, excellent. Well, if our listeners wanted to connect with you, Michelle, which I'm sure they will, what's the best way for them to be able to reach out?
Well, thank you, Warren. I appreciate that. So there's multiple platforms. I have my mlinteriorsgroup.com. That's ML as in Michelle Lynne. And then, of course, there's designedforthecreativemind.com. And both of those handles are very active on Instagram. But immediately for your listeners, I actually have put together a couple of free gifts, essentially, or discounted gifts. If your listener wants to be participant in one of our virtual designs, I'm offering 10% off of any of those services. Any of your listeners that are entrepreneurs, you don't even have to be a creative entrepreneur. You could be very, very analytical. But I have a review and planning guide that you just download, and it's amazing. It talks about the questions that help you assess your business and look back, and then also plan by looking forward. And it's something that I do every year. Sometimes there have been years I've done it 2 or 3 times. Like this year might be one of those that I need to go back and review and plan because we've taken such a hard turn.
Yeah,
And
excellent. Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
absolutely. I've got one more. If there's any
Awesome.
designers out there who want to take that virtual masterclass, I offer it with like $100 off. So I have all of that as Design for the Creative Mind /obstacle buster, and I'll send that all that information to you.
Yeah, that would be perfect, Michelle. And I'll make sure all of those links are in the show notes as well. So thank you so much for being so generous to offering those resources.
Absolutely. It's anything I can do to help.
Well, thank you, Michelle, for sharing your strategies, tips, and resources, helping our listeners to break through their obstacles to achieve success.
It's been my pleasure, Warren. Thank you so much for having me as your guest today.
Yeah, you're welcome. I enjoyed our conversation.
Likewise.
Well, until next time, this is your host, Warren Wandling, saying, be resilient